Hi guys. Today I wanted to talk a bit more about computational design and some things that kind of bother me in the industry and how computational design and the programming in architecture, developing in architecture is perceived. And I think we need to work together and change that, because I noticed it affects me and it must affect most people that do this kind of thing. I mean, there's a couple of things that are very obvious to us. One of them is that the AEC industry, the architectural engineering and construction industry, is very slow to adopt digitalization. And that was always like that. Buckminster Fuller wrote about that. And for some reason, it's a very, very conservative industry. And even today, there is people that have this slow transformation to BIM, to 3D and so on. And we have this development in parallel of highly technical people that we call computational designers. I said I don't like the term because what we do is not really in the design phase that much, but that doesn't matter. It's these developers in architecture, and they are being integrated into the system. But my point that I'm trying to make is that they are being integrated falsely. So we know that our industry is siloed, right? We have these architects, we have the civil engineers who build their structural models from scratch, we have the MEP, HVAC, they have their own models. Everything is very siloed and the communication is very complicated. And there's a lot of people that try to solve this with software, which is great. But then come the computational designers into play. And since I've been saying since 20 years ago, I've been preaching that we can automate a lot of these processes, right? Not only the communication, but we can create parametric models from scratch and so on. But I think that is received badly. I think that people do not understand what you can do with it. So computational designers, if you imagine these silos as separate tree structures, computational designers occupy some node down there, some leaf node in that tree structure, but they're all in the siloed structures, right? So civil engineers maybe will have one that helps them. Architects will have someone that proverbially moves those sliders in the design phase, and maybe the fabricators will have someone intern that tries to automate different ways of production. But I think that's completely wrong. I think that computational designers or developers in architecture, their position should be inverted. They should be up there in the overarching structure connecting all these silos. So when you build a smaller project, like a house, let's say a single family house, and you are in one smaller office, that is kind of obvious. You are able to model the entire house until the very last detail. Even then you don't do it, but let's leave that subject for another time. But you're able to do it, right? You're able to model your house and put every screw where you want, have all the details and control the whole process from the design to the fabrication, right? The moment projects grow a bit, from you have the apartment house buildings and then grow malls, airports, whatever, the projects become extremely disconnected and extremely siloed. The architects do one level of detail, they pass that to someone else takes that, builds their own model, pass that to someone else. Then you have this play with 10 different models and 10 different file formats and communication problems and going back and forth. And it all ties up to that McLeamy curve that says that you have to have this digital twin, this BIM model as soon as possible. And then you will avoid a lot of errors later, production errors, production costs, and so on. But the extension of that is that you don't need 10 BIM models. You can have one model or one system of how to connect those models. And I don't want to go through all this, the system that we have in our office where we create this wireframe model and then we populate what we need when we need. And I demonstrated that. We did that for the Sphere, Las Vegas Sphere, which is one of the largest objects where you can do that. But it is hard to prove to people. It's hard to explain to people that that's possible. That's one thing. First point is it's possible. It is possible to have one true digital twin. You just need a system. If you tell someone, okay, I'm going to build a building and every screw and nut will be inside that building. They'll say that's impossible because that file is just going to be too large. No computer will be able to open it. That's true, but that's why we have these systems where we just keep the wireframe, keep just the position of elements, and then generate what we need when we need. And then those positions of elements can be exported automatically also for structural analysis. So the static analysis the static analysis model doesn't have to be done from scratch. So it's, again, all one integrated thing, overarching, that just exports and imports from different people. And although there are some attempts to do it software-wise, it's still at a very, very low level of detail, because there are systems that which you can do this until the very last finest low level of detail, right? Level of detail 500, where you can truly have every screw and nut and bolt and thread on the screw in your model. We've demonstrated that on the Share Zedek Medical Center, on the the Whiteley's Mall, London by Foster and Partners, Bloomberg Building, Foster and Partners, Las Vegas Sphere, and so on. You can do that, but you cannot do that by putting people that know how to do it down in this tree structure. You have to lift them up and replace managers with people that are highly technical in computational design. So we all know that these structures of middlemen, of managers on top of managers on top of managers, especially for these large projects, is completely redundant. There are people that have meetings and communicate nonstop, but they are not technical at all, and that's a huge waste of time. You need technical people to be at that level, at the overarching level, that create solutions, not to solve some little, to create some little tool that automates the production of the window automatically, or to create some shapes. No, we create tools that are overarching systems. That's our main computational design advantage. And that's something that needs to shift, and I don't think it's shifting. Like if I go to, let's say, LinkedIn and look at the posts that computational designers do, what is the subject, what is the content of 90% of those posts? Oh, look at this little tool I created that I made that does this and this. Look at this script that I made that you take this and this, and they basically show that they are just a little node in this whole system. I think we should shift it and turn it around. And that's what I'm trying to do in my office, and say, no, you let us guide the creation of the complete one golden thread BIM digital model, one model to rule them all. And then let us create these tools that are not some smaller nodes, but these overarching systems. So we internally have these systems that already work and that works on other, and I'm trying to inspire people to create their own and show how that can be done. But my frustration comes from the fact that it's not that the computational design does not have that role in the AEC industry, and I am going to try to shift this point of view to look at it like that. And whoever is a computational designs and look at it, you have to think about it, how you will contribute to it, because I think that's better for you as well. I mean, okay, some of you might just want to create some little tools and things, but I think that's not where the power lies. And I think that's why the computational design in that sense and developing its architecture is still very much underused, because it's used in these simple points and not as an overarching thing, right? Why not? Why is that hard? Why is that hard to implement? Because we as developers are mostly seen as these, geeks that are in the corner, these Swiss knife type of people. You have something that needs to be automated, you have some tool that needs to be created, go to that person, and they will create a tool fast for it, and then you can continue doing your job. And then you have these managers that have the meetings that still talk about in old ways of designing and creating models, and then they just are concerned about their own silo, what's their input and their output. If you're an architect, you say, I don't care, I will just extrude a column and extrude a beam, and how this column and the beam are connected, that's not my concern. The next one in the line will do that. And then the next one in the line will take that and then try to solve that joint and so on. And that's all takes way too much time, unneeded time. What if this column was a single line and this beam was a single line? And the cross-section of this and the cross-section of this are automated, and the joint is automatically created. It's all programmed, and you just create this wireframe, but this wireframe contains all the information that you need from the sketch until the production. And that's the essence of BIM, of building information modeling, that all information is there, except that we as developers, we want to push it further, that information is not simple text and parameters, but information that's inside are also algorithms, right? Call it however you want. You don't need a new name. You don't need a building algorithm modeling. It can still be called BIM. But the information is extended to algorithms, so that when I have a column and I have a beam and there is a point here, this point has an algorithm as information that knows how to cut this beam, how to add screws to it, how to add steel plates to it. And when I press a button, that joint gets created automatically. That's what our internal software GAS does. That's exactly what we did on the projects like the aforementioned one, including the sphere, where everything is just created automatically. And then you create it also, you can control the model how you want it. You can imagine having different LODs. That's what we do. For example, on the facade, you have these very complex aluminum profiles, right? But we have incorporated LODs, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. So we can, at the click of a button, generate everything in the LOD 100, and then look at it. You have a very light model, go back to the wireframe, and then say, okay, let's choose this one small sector of the facade and create everything there in the LOD 500. Again, click of the button. Everything is there, every screw and nut and bolt and so on. And then we can turn this on, off, generate, again, what we need, when we need it. And that's how you create these systems. You know? That's how you're not concerned about some little tool or some little plugin, but you're concerned about how to connect everything together and make it more efficient. And there is so much more to go, so much many stairs on steps that we could progress, but we're not going there because we're too slow. Like I'm talking about creating one building, and we are still not there, right? Most of the people are still far from that, from creating that digital twin from the building. But you have additional steps, how to connect the buildings themselves, how to include IoT, Internet of Things, IoT, yeah, in the building, how to connect the neighborhoods, how to connect the entire cities and so on. Those are all the steps that can be built on top of this one, because when you start creating these digital twins and you start connecting them, there is so much more to go. But we're still struggling with these first 1-2 steps for the last 20, 30 years. And then in the 90s, there was the Building Smart and the IFC and so on, but there is still this struggle. And I saw computational design as a solution to pull us out of that struggle in 2006 and 2007 when I started and worked on the Shenzhen airport and all these huge projects on Shenzhen airport, where I single-handedly programmed the generation of the facade and the structure of the largest freeform structure in the world. Then I said, okay, this is it. This is like you program stuff, a single person click a button and everything gets generated. Now we just add information, add algorithms. But it didn't go through yet. It's very slow. Why? Because we need to step up. As developers, you step up for the role of the geek in the corner that creates tools, to a creator of systems, to creator of overarching systems that connect the entire building together. And that's how we do it. And that's what I talk about on this channel, and that's what I teach you how to do it. I create 10+ hour developer courses, C# for Rhino, that are now for free. I create these videos, I show you projects and so on. I post on LinkedIn about different methods you can use, and I will continue to do that. But the important thing is that in the past, I have been guilty of this as well. I have been also advertising the computational design as creation of these simple tools, but I will try to shift myself as well. right? I'm also, to be honest, as a company, I also had this approach, which was bad. I would go to fabricator and say, I could automate your fabrication. I would go to architects and I said, I could automate your design. But I am trying to shift more now to take over more responsibility and the creation of the system for entire buildings, especially large scale buildings where everything is disconnected. So let's see how that goes in the future, and we will all be on this journey together. This is, I think, enough for now. That's what I wanted to spontaneously. I wanted to spontaneously vent a little bit about this, because I noticed in some of the projects that I've been seeing how conservative the industry still is, and why that is, because those at the top, the managers, the ones that communicate, actually don't have these technical skills that are needed and that we need to step up. As I mentioned, go to gasworld.com, where if you want, you can have 10 plus hours of free C# developer courses. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm trying to advertise this and try to make this shift happen. And I'll see you soon. Stay free.